everyone, a very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight we are decoding United States' move to impose reciprocal tariffs on imports and its impact on MSMEs, as well as put a spotlight on artificial intelligence. In the first segment, I'm in conversation with Hemant Jain, President of PHDCCI, and in the second segment, a chat lined up with Ram Menon, founder and CEO of Avaamo. Now, the Indian exporting community is concerned about the potential reciprocal tariffs from the US, as these could significantly impact MSME shipments to America in the short term. What are the implications on the Indian exporting community, especially MSMEs? Will this reduce competitiveness in global markets? Tonight, we'll be evaluating how businesses and MSMEs can navigate this new trade landscape. And joining me live in this conversation is Hemant Jain, President of PHDCCI. Thank you, Hemant, for joining us today.
Thank you for calling us today.
So to begin the discussion, Hemant, tell us first, how will the newly imposed US tariffs, especially the 26% levy on Indian exports, impact Indian MSMEs, which are already grappling with tight margins?
In long term, the impact will not be much, but short term, yes, there is a disruption. There's a complete disruption in the global ecosystem. It's almost like a tariff war. So short term, I think there will need to be support from the government. There needs to be a priority lending for exporters who are exporting to US market. So I believe that this is long term a big boom to India, because if I see today, 26% is large, but compared to China, we are still lower than the Chinese and other countries. So I believe that long term will gain, but short term, government needs to handhold the MSME by giving some incentives and by giving priority lending to the MSMEs.
Given that MSMEs form the backbone of Indian exports, do you see any viable strategies for these businesses to remain competitive in the US market despite the tariff hikes?
I think despite tariff hikes, we need to innovate. We are a low-cost producer. The whole world knows that we are the low-cost producer in the world. We need to be innovative. We need to become the R&D and the innovative center of the world. So I think there needs to be a lot of impetus from the government, giving them tax breaks for innovation in R&D centers, to ensure that whatever we are giving, we are not only giving the low cost, but we are giving a product which is unique in the world. And that will only happen if we invest into R&D and innovation. So this is something which we have recommended earlier also in the budget. So there needs to be incentives, at least for the MSME sector, we need to incentivize them so that we become into a unique position. Because today, as we see more and more, India is becoming the R&D hub for the world. A lot of large Fortune 500 companies have their R&D hubs in India. And I think MSME also, if they are the same portal, if government incentivize them, I think we should be in a good space to compete in the global market.
And for Indian businesses wanting to go global, does this trade shift present any new opportunities in alternative markets, or should the focus be on navigating the challenges in the US only?
I think we are in a very good space. We are among the very few countries which have a stable government for the last 15 years with a stable economic policy. So I think India is a place where everybody is looking in. So as we would like to look at, we should look at global scales. But I think India is a place to be in. We have a very solid domestic market, and we have very, very cost competitive manufacturing setup here. We just need to get sure that the bureaucracy and red tape which we have, and if we can get the one window clearance for the companies. So a lot of MNCs and a lot of outside people will come more and more into India. This is what our neighboring countries are doing. Companies like Vietnam and Indonesia and Thailand. They are all giving a one window clearance for the companies who are coming in for setting up manufacturing facilities. I think if we are able to get that right, I think India is in a very, very sweet spot. And people should look into India rather than going into US in the places.
Sure. And with key Indian exports such as textiles, engineering goods and chemicals facing tariff hikes, which sectors do you believe will be hit the hardest? And are there any industries that might actually benefit from these changes?
In the industry which shall go for the benefit, which is rather for the positive mindset. So I think India is the biggest beneficiary for this whole tariff barrier which is happening right now is the pharma industry. The US has exempted the pharma industry from tariffs. So India will set to gain tremendously. India is already a cost competitive place when it comes to formulations. But I'm sure this additional benefit will give a huge boost to the Indian pharma industry. The textile will be a sector which is short-term a concern because people will have to again revalue any disruption reduces the demand, especially because when you are having disruptions, then the things will become more expensive in US. US consumer has to pay more to buy that. So there may be a spending delay, but long term, as our tariffs are lower than our neighboring and our competitive states, especially in textile and in chemicals. So long term will gain. Short term, I think there is definitely a huge disruption, and there may be a slowdown in US because with this increased prices, how the consumers will take is something we have to watch and see.
Now, Hemant, the US has spared Indian steel and aluminium from additional levies, but concerns about dumping from other Asian countries remain. How should India safeguard its domestic industries against unfair competition?
So today, the Honorable Prime Minister is very clear that we have to become Atmanirbhar, we have to become Made in India. And when it comes to steel and all, we are very competitive. We have our own raw materials. We are competitive in that. But there has been unfair dumping from, especially from the Asian countries. There is a mechanism of safeguard duty and anti-dumping duty. I think if there is, the government has been very proactive in that. So in case if there is dumping, then the industry has to resort to the safeguard and anti-dumping duty as per the WTO.
So the trade war has created a shifting global supply chain. Can India use this moment to attract more investment in its manufacturing sector? And if so, what policy measures should be prioritized?
I think India, when we meet at the industry chambers, we meet a lot of people across the globe. We have a lot of investors come to us, a lot of people, delegations we take it out. We just had a delegation coming from Japan. So a lot of Japanese industries are looking at a base in India. I think we need to get a bureaucracy right. People are definitely looking at India, and with this shift in global change, people are looking at China policy. There is an over dependence on China when it comes to supply arrangements. So everybody wants to de-risk themselves, and India is definitely the best alternate which they can get because we have a huge domestic market, and we are one of the most innovative people in the world. The only thing which we need to get is we need to get our bureaucracy right, and we need to give the people who want to set up factories here, like I said earlier also, a one window clearance for getting the factory operational rather than giving 15 different government agencies to handle it. If we can get a single window clearance, I think there's nobody who can stop India.
And finally, beyond US tariffs, what other global trade disruptions do Indian businesses, especially exporters, need to prepare for to future-proof themselves against rising protectionism worldwide?
I think US is the number one economy in the world. What they have done, I think other countries will also follow. We should be prepared for more disruption. Fortunately, our government is already aligned and they are already ensuring that they are aligned with this. They are like with US, we are right now doing a bilateral trade agreement to ensure that Indian products find decent home in the US market. So the government, especially the Commerce Ministry, is very, very proactive in ensuring that this larger scales, we are already having a bilateral agreement discussion with EU. There are certain discussions which needs to be resolved and done. So I think in this world of disruption, there will be disruptions. And whatever the US has done, there will be a backlash from other countries also. But I think we need to be more proactive and we need to work towards with other countries to arrange more and more bilateral agreements to ensure that Indian industry is not happen.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Hemant. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ritwika. Thank you. Thank you all.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. In this segment, we put a spotlight on Avaamo, an advanced multimodal generative AI platform. Now, Avaamo is building Avaamo agents, which they believe will replace human roles or functions with AI. To understand more, Ram Menon, founder and CEO of Avaamo, joins us tonight. Listen in. Thank you, Ram, for joining us today.
Yeah, hello there, Ritwika. Thanks very much for having me.
Now, Avaamo is leading a shift from traditional enterprise software to autonomous AI workers. Can you elaborate on this vision and how it fundamentally transforms enterprises?
So let's start with an example because it's easier to explain. So, for example, if you are a patient in the US, you call your hospital, you want to confirm or cancel or reschedule an appointment. You also want to know which doctor is going to handle your consultation. You want to know whether insurance will pay the full amount or only 30% of the amount. And you may have even the simplest question whether there's parking nearby. And currently, in a healthcare system, there is a person in a call center who handles that question, gives you all the answers, and in some cases, thousands of people like that handling this kind of complex context, content, transaction, empathy, and then you are satisfied and you go for your appointment. Now that human being has been cloned using Avaamo's AI software to do that job.
Right. Ram, the launch of Avaamo agents marks a significant milestone. What sets them apart from other AI-powered automation solutions in the market today? Are they able to achieve human-like intelligence and autonomous execution?
That's right. That's exactly the point, right? So when you think about the software market, there is going to be a lot of the large mega, software companies who sell tools. I sell you a bunch of software, you got a bunch of developers, and you build the agent that you like, right? In Avaamo's case, what we're doing is we're giving you an off-the-shelf agent. Even in our customers in India, a very familiar problem is benefits. Everybody's got to sign up for benefits, for healthcare, for insurance. And only what I've heard from many of our customers like Air India, Wipro, Aditya Birla, etc., is only a small percentage sign up based on those emails. Last minute, they call and they want all these clarifications before they sign up. Now, we will be launching in the next couple of weeks what we call workplace agents. And workplace agents are human AI clones that will replicate that. And when somebody calls at the last minute, this AI clone will be able to handle all those questions. So what Avaamo is doing is, in a sense, bringing out a full workforce, an AI workforce targeted at specific areas where you can replace a role.
Now, many enterprises, especially small companies, are still in the early stages of AI adoption. What are the biggest hurdles companies face when integrating AI-driven automation, and how does Avaamo help overcome them?
Yeah, I think in India it's a mixed bag, right? I think in India is very different from the US, right? So I think there are three vectors that, in a sense, is happening in India, right? So one sector, which I think the media talks about a lot, is jobs will be disrupted, right? Companies like Avaamo will deliver AI clones. For example, the BPO sector will be disrupted, right? Now the cost of labor is the cost of software. So there will be one vector which will happen. The second vector is what you were alluding to. Will India Inc. adopt AI? And that is still kind of a mixed bag. The PwC report, for example, says everybody loves talking about AI, but 49% of CEOs are worried about it. Perhaps now, with tariffs and all these things, maybe India Inc. wants to be more competitive, and that will hasten the adoption of AI, right? And the third vector is AI in India has to be uniquely
Sure.
Indian. But what is going to make real a difference is an AI education app for a 12th standard student where all the textbooks, all the exam papers, all the test papers are all injected or ingested. And that student now can have a personalized view of how to prepare for the exams. That's value. That is a very Indianized notion of value.
Now, from what I understand, Avaamo operates at a global scale, partnering with Fortune 500 companies. How do you see India's role in Avaamo's growth and in shaping the future of AI-driven automation?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting time you asked this question because I was reading about the Minister Piyush Goyal's comments, which you're probably familiar with, where he made some comments about the startup system. And what he aspires in his comments, which created a storm, obviously, is more Indian companies do something deep tech, innovative.
Sure.
And in a sense, perhaps Avaamo is fulfilling that aspirational goal already, right? Because Avaamo is taking the best India has to offer, some of the best engineers in the world. I would put my engineers in Bangalore on par with OpenAI or Google, right? So that is something India has to offer. And we are then taking that and building software for some of the most discerning companies in the West. We have the Volkswagens, the Intels, the Ericssons, the largest brands in the world who can have any AI company at their beck and call, but they choose Avaamo. So, in some sense, I think now we are achieving what the minister talked about, which is a deep tech company that is delivering some of the most cutting edge software to the world. And we'll continue to do that.
Right, the AI and automation space in India is growing rapidly. What unique opportunities and challenges do you see in deploying AI-driven enterprise solutions in the Indian market?
Well, I think, when you think about this at the technical level, so let me kind of break it out, right? So at the technical level, nobody is going to change the way they approve purchase orders. Nobody's going to change the way they generate invoices. Like simple, right? But can AI help that? And that's what Avaamo is trying to pioneer. We don't want to change the way you do things, but can we make that more efficient? So I think that is a big challenge, right? In terms of like, AI doesn't mean everything that you're doing so far, you throw it away, right? So I think that is kind of like the one challenge. The second challenge is, access. Like, how do you access this? I mean, all these things that I talked about, right? I mean, you are not going to build an AI tool for farmers in the US, right? That's a very uniquely Indian opportunity where 30 to 40% of the population is in agriculture, So those are the things that really matter in the Indian way of growth, what we can do. In AI for Indians, I think is a uniquely different way of thinking about it, and more people should think about it. The government should support that. Startups should be funded for that, and that's the way to go.
So Ram, from leading TIPCO's growth to founding Avaamo, your career has been marked by pioneering enterprise technology. What lessons from your past experiences have shaped Avaamo's trajectory?
Well, sure. And I think this is a message for all entrepreneurs, right? If you're building a product, first have a paying customer. And maybe this is kind of I think we have, for whatever reason, in the startup ecosystem in India, focused on fundraising as the game, the hype around that. getting on TV and talking about the valuation. Focus on paying customers. When somebody
Right.
parts with their money, then you're delivering value. So I think that's the first lesson of entrepreneurship I learned. The second lesson is product first. There will always be a Microsoft or somebody like that, maybe building a product like you have. But anything that is done can be done better, right? So for every entrepreneur, product first. If you can do it better, the customer will pay for it. Those are the two main things. And the third thing is the lesson that is still not learned in capitalism is you build a product to make a profit, right? And you know as well as I do the stories of loss-making startups generating huge fundraising and valuations. And I'm very proud Avaamo is not a well-known company because we don't do that. But what we do is we are profitable. So the way to think about what Avaamo does, the lessons that I have put in practice is building software with some of the greatest engineers in the world from India. Second, having paying customers of the largest brands in the world who have their pick of software vendors and they choose little Avaamo. And the third, do it in a profitable manner, being one of the very few AI companies that are profitable right now. So that's what I've learned.
And finally, tell us what is next for Avaamo? How do you see AI evolving in enterprise automation over the next 5 years or so?
I think there's, I have a very simple thing, which is to say build cool stuff and have fun doing it. I think AI will just change the economy. AI agents, we have this saying, right? That SaaS or cloud software created the SaaS economy, right? And social media created the influencer economy. And AI's lasting effect will be creating the agent economy, a whole series of human clones that will start doing more and more interesting things, replace certain parts of the legal profession, replace certain parts of the finance profession. And that's what we see ourselves doing.
Well, all the very best. Thank you so much, Ram, for joining us tonight.
Thanks very much for having me.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.